This Sunday is Pentecost Sunday. Look, I wore my red shorts. Are they red or are they pink? Well, they're Pentecost-ish enough for today. I also have some red books in the back. You see them there? Anyway, this coming Sunday is Pentecost Sunday. I'm Reverend Jim Keat, digital minister at the Riverside Church. This is The Word Made Fresh, the weekly video Bible study and sermon prep resource where we talk about an upcoming lectionary passage or liturgical theme, and then you can borrow ideas for your sermons or Bible studies, or you can just, be a Bible geek. That's cool too. So this coming Sunday is Pentecost Sunday, in some ways the birthday of the church. Happy birthday, because this is when the whole experiment called the church kind of exploded with Holy Spirit, wind, fire, tongues of fire. Okay, you know the story. We're not going to talk about that passage because you know that passage. I mean, you're probably used to the whole Babel reversed. We're at the story of Tower of Babel. They spoke one language and then they were confused in different languages. And here at Pentecost, we have all these different languages and they're able to hear them as one. It's actually the miracle of the ears because they heard the same. Anyway, that's a fun take. But we're going to look at Romans chapter 8. The text from Romans is Romans 8:14 to 17. And I just want us to look at verse 14. I think it's a great verse, period, and it really connects well with Pentecost, because it's Pentecost Sunday. Okay, here it is. Romans 8:14 says, "For all who are led by the Spirit of God are children of God." So this verse, I think, just is one of those open your mind, expand the way you see the world, break down the barriers and divisions that we create and perpetuate with our too often reductionistic and narrow understanding of what it means to be a person of faith or the people of God. But this verse in particular, for all who are led by the Spirit of God are children of God, it really makes us ask the question, who do we see being led by the Spirit of God? Where do we see people being led by the Spirit of love and justice, even if they're not inside the container that we call Christianity or the church? Where do we see God's Spirit, this breath moving? Get it? Breath? That's a connection to the Acts story where the wind and the breath, which is the Greek word for spirit, was blowing through. Where do we see this wind of God blowing and filling the sails, moving people forward in the ways of love and justice? Wherever you see that happening, well, what's it say? For all who are led by the Spirit of God are children of God. Now, that phrase, led by the Spirit of God, the best image, I think, is exactly that. Imagine a boat opening its sails and this wind just pushing it forward. Because the Greek word for spirit, pneuma, means spirit, and it also means breath or wind. So in the Acts 2 story, which we're not talking about, but we're going to kind of talk about right now, the first followers of Jesus are all gathered together, and then they're huddled together in a room with the doors locked and everything because they're afraid. And then this wind comes through. They hear this sound of a loud breath, a loud wind, and it's the Spirit of God blowing through, and it inspires them, it invigorates them, and they're filled with God in a new way, and they go to the streets and they do their thing, and the church. So whoever is led by the Spirit of God, whoever opens their sails to be blown forward in this way of love and justice, well, they are the children of God. Sometimes the church is stuck thinking we've got it all figured out. We have the corner on God. Well, I think God is bigger than any construct, any building, any paradigm we create. When I look at the world around us, I've thought this for a good while now, I feel like one of the best expressions of where the Spirit of God is continuing to lead people and move forward in the world is this movement for Black Lives Matter movement, where we see people gathering around needs for love and justice and empathy and solidarity, where they're working for very practical and radical change in the world. I think that's the Spirit of God. It brings together a community. They gather. They are galvanized. They support one another. It's so much of what we see in this beginning story of the church, and I think it's just another fresh expression. We don't put a box on it with a steeple on top and call it a church, but I still think it's people who are led by the Spirit of God. Therefore, they're the children of God. So this is just a way of thinking, which is very fitting for Pentecost, but it's also fitting for every day. Where do we see people being led by the Spirit of God? That's where we need to join in and follow that movement and follow that Spirit of God as it continues to lead us, even if it might lead us in new directions than we've been led in the past. Our future doesn't have to look like our past. We can learn from where we've been. To know where you're going, you have to know where you've been. But we need to always have our sails open to be led by the Spirit of God wherever she might be leading us. And I said she there because the word spirit in Greek and Hebrew is a feminine word, so she is the most appropriate pronoun to use for Spirit of God. All right, what do you all think? Where else have you seen the Spirit of God leading people forward? What else would you identify as who's being led by the Spirit of God and therefore they're children of God? Maybe you've seen it inside the church. Way to go, church. But let's open our eyes to see it outside of the church as well. Outside of these boundaries and lines that we've put in thinking we have God. No, God is so much more expansive, and thanks be to God that she continues to move and work in mysterious ways. In us and in spite of us. All right, go Pentecost. Wear some red. I'm going to wear my red shirt on Pentecost Sunday. So, join us at Riverside. You can see me at Virtual Coffee Hour. Maybe I'm leading something in the service. I don't know. Either way, 10:45 Sunday morning, coffee hour right after worship on Zoom. Information below. All right. Happy Pentecost. Happy birthday to you. Do you understand why it's the birthday church Pentecost? Okay, I think you do. Okay. Romans 8, Acts 2. Have fun. See you soon.